Welcome back, guys, to another Skal Reacts video. Today we're going to be reacting, obviously. I've started wearing glasses now, and I actually think they look pretty good, but I can't really wear them when I'm recording because you just get loads of glare from the screen, unfortunately. So we're going to be putting those away for the time being. Welcome back to Skal Reacts. Last time we did a Skal Reacts video, it was a disaster. I ended up making an army of 9-year-old haters, I guess you could say, from reacting to ThirtyVirus's video. A similar video, which, as far as I'm concerned, isn't nearly as bad, but is still bad, has recently come up. I actually would like to credit Stridey for this discovery. I don't watch ibxtoycat personally. I find him extremely. He's a kids YouTuber. What can I really say? Every single video of his that I watch, I feel like he's just out of breath with every single sentence that he pumps out at 50 miles an hour, and it's very. I don't really enjoy it personally, but obviously a lot of people do. He's a popular guy. He actually does have, let me see, 1.6 million subscribers, so he's definitely doing something right. I believe he is a console gamer as well. I think he's a console Minecraft gamer. Bro, you have 1.6 million and you got 93,000 views. That's not actually that good of a retention rate, is it? Never mind. Anyway, Direwolf's good shit, by the way. I would definitely recommend his mod reviews. So the video we're going to be reviewing today is called Minecraft Has a Serious Art Problem. Now, as someone who is technically a Minecraft artist, I guess you could say, I don't really consider myself to be a pixel artist, as I've always explained in the past. I much prefer doing things that are more complicated with like Optifine and specific parameter checking and like little nuances and niche things that people like to see that aren't just pixel art skill. I'm trying to improve my pixel art abilities every day, and I'm getting there, and I've been told that by people that I trust and very much respect. So I'm really thankful for that. But I feel like I'm knowledgeable enough at this point to understand when something is a problem. This guy doesn't. This video is quite entertaining. So if you guys follow my channel for the pixel art aspects of things, if you're fans of resource pack development in general, you might get a bit of a kick out of this. So without further ado, we'll get straight into it.
Hello, I'm ibxtoycat, and can you honestly look at this image right here and tell me that Minecraft doesn't have art inconsistencies?
Okay, so this is actually considered to be, what's it called again? Crap. Pixel consistent? Yeah, pixel consistency. It's to do with like the scale of pixels, the way that things look. And the thing with this image right here, he's labeling this as an art. We're 7 seconds in. It's not gonna be an hour and a half this time, okay? We're 7 seconds in, but we'll get on going in a second because there's one crucial point I want to get to in this video. So in this picture right here, for those of you that are a fan of pixel consistency, you will immediately realize that the parrot and the chicken are pixel consistent. The bat isn't. The reference point in this image is the stone in the background. As you can see, the pixels between the stone and the chicken and the stone and the parrot are the same size. For some reason, the bat is a much higher resolution because I guess an artist got lazy at some point along the way and basically couldn't be bothered figuring out how to do the bat in the same pixel consistency, so they just did themselves the favor of just upscaling it to make it more detailed. And that's why the bat looks so out of place in this image and in Minecraft, because it's the wrong ratio. It's only the same thing as having a 32-bit sword and a 16-bit pickaxe on the same hotbar. It looks wrong because it's just two different resolutions, two entirely different art styles that are being combined. Minecraft obviously does have a multitude of art styles now, ranging from the creeper, which I believe is one of the oldest textures in the game that is still to this day unchanged, and it's obviously unchanged because of how iconic it is. But we now have obviously the improved Japper style, which uses a lot of better pixel consistency, like pixel art skills and techniques, things like that. So like, proper hue shifting and limited color palettes and things like that. So this is an example of the aspect ratio being wrong, or the resolution being wrong, I should say. Yeah, but we'll carry on.
I mean, sure, you might say that the bat has more detailed textures than the block behind it because the bat is a smaller mob, but even when we try to compare the bat to the two other bird mobs in the game, the chicken and the parrot, you can see how both of those have pretty similar texturing to each other, but they look very different to the bat in terms of just the detail you can see right there. The wings and the face just contain much more detail.
It's very much not similar texturing. Let's just be clear on that. As you can see here, the chicken's body is mostly just like random, pixels that have been like meshed together to make it look like it has like more texture to it, whereas the parrot is mostly just a flat red. I would actually argue that these are more inconsistent than the bat and the chicken to some extent. Obviously the pixel art scaling, like the resolution of it is the main factor, but if you were to argue that they're a different style, I would say that you are wrong.
And it's very confusing as to why they chose to do that.
It's not confusing. It's because it was difficult to make the bat look detailed in such a small resolution because it is a tiny mob. And we're about to get into a really good example of why this guy is so wrong.
A serious art problem, and let me show you why, because this is a little bit of nitpicking, you might say. I mean, who even cares about the bat? No one noticed it. It came in the 1.4 update. It's a long time ago. Let it go, ThirtyVirus. However, if we go and look at the 1.13 update, the first of the new big once yearly updates, you can see how that update has two mobs with a similar and strange discrepancy. So let's take two of the aquatic mobs from that update.
Okay, some of you will see these two images flash on screen now, and you will think you know what he's talking about, but you're wrong, trust me.
Let's take the pufferfish for example, and you can see that the pufferfish is a texture of 3 by 2 by 3 pixels. I mean, it's hilariously small if you look at this thing. It's so pixelated that it even has just eyes sticking out from it. It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? It's
how pixelated the bat should be.
But then we take a look at another texture from this same update, the turtle, and look at the turtle. Look how much...
So the turtle is that detailed because of its size. And now I'm sure your brain immediately goes to, what about baby turtles? Well, so did mine, and so does a lot of people's apparently. But he's not on about that.
Detail it has on its back, look how much detail it has on its face, how tiny its eyes therefore can be, and the amount of detail it can show with that pattern on its back. You can see how these two mobs in the same update have hugely different treatments and therefore have...
They don't. I would actually argue that these are consistent. They're completely consistent. The pixel art scaling is correct on these two mobs. If you were to put these two mobs next to each other, their individual pixels would be the same size. They are indeed pixel consistent. Yeah. There's no issue here. There's no discrepancy. This is actually fine, in my opinion, and I've never heard anyone make this statement before. Obviously, the bat versus the parrot and chicken is an obvious one that many people have pointed out time and time again because the bat's texture is more old, but this is a more recent one. I've never really heard anyone complain about this before because that's just the correct size, and that's just the correct size. I don't really get what the problem is, to be honest.
Have hugely different feels to the game, which would make sense in some games, perhaps you could argue, but this is Minecraft. It is a voxel-based game. Having pixelated or having non-realistic designs isn't something that anyone would really complain about. Minecraft has an art style, and that art style can be really beautiful in places, but it can also be seriously conflicting, even within the same update. I mean, are these not two mobs from the 1.13 update? Yes, they are. Let's take a look at, for example, the pig and the zoglin, two very similarly, like styled mobs. They're both meant to be ham machines, but if we look at both these things, the pig is very, very simple. It's one of the OG Minecraft textures, one of the things people fell in love with, but when they decided to design the zoglin, they decided to do it in a much more complex way. They could have redesigned the pig.
Why is he using the zoglin as the example here? Surely the pig and the hoglin are a more appropriate example. That's like comparing a pig and a zombie pigman. Like, there's obviously a lot more detail in this texture because it's zombified. Like, you have the fucking open rib cage and, like, rotten flesh at the side of it, things like that. Like, I feel like comparing the pig and the hoglin would have been a much better comparison here, but never mind. Once again, these are pixel consistent. Both of these mobs do actually have the same aspect ratio on them, which is, in my opinion, why they look fine. Rather confusingly, in this shot right here, he's actually framed them next to each other where the zoglin is much smaller than it actually is. So it almost looks as though the zoglin is higher definition than the pig, but it's actually not. They are both pixel consistent. So I think it would have been a much better decision right here to make the zoglin its actual size, or to get like an in-game screenshot as opposed to these two differently scaled images, because right now you could look at this and think that they were different, but obviously in reality we know that pigs and zoglins are very different sizes. But yeah.
At the same time. In fact, this was just after an entire texture re-update, but even though they did update a lot of textures, they didn't decide to fundamentally alter the very beginning textures, but they did decide to add more to the zoglin, and this is why mobs like the hoglin and the zoglin, or even mobs like the turtle, will never fit naturally into Minecraft, and they'll always seem like something weird that's on top of it. I mean...
I completely disagree. I think that the problem that he's getting at here is not actually to do with the initial problem of the bat and the parrots and the chickens and stuff. I think this is an entirely different issue. I think this is just a case of the features of Minecraft improving, and I'll cut it short. Later on in the video, he goes on to talk about horses and cows, and again, this is a point that I completely agree on because I think that there is a very clear discrepancy here. The horse model looks like a horse. The cow looks like old school Minecraft, if that makes sense. This is a very old and simplistic model from a time where Minecraft was a much more simple game with a much simpler art style. But the more the game has progressed and the more features it's gotten, we've got slightly more realistic things in it. Originally, the idea was to just simply have mobs be like this. If you think about the oldest mobs in the game, such as like the pig, the cow, the chicken, you may realize that a lot of those don't really use like slanted cubes. They only ever use cubes that are perfectly upright and square, whereas the horse has this kind of like diagonal neck and head, which in my opinion looks a hell of a lot better than, doing something like this. But I think the reason for that is because it's more modern. And there is a very clear thing with Minecraft now where they don't want to update old things too much. They only want to add to the game. They're kind of, I have a feeling that Mojang is scared to like spoil the nostalgic effect of Minecraft, the things that we recognize and love from like olden times, because obviously the creeper still has its horrendous texture with, I believe, 256 colors. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. It might just be a complete coincidence that it's 256, but never mind. But the creeper does not have a limited palette. The creeper does not have a good texture, in my opinion. All the creeper is the original leaf texture, tinted lime green with a white background. You can go and recreate the original creeper texture right now by following those simple steps. That is what the creeper texture is, just with a face and toes drawn on. Minecraft was a much more simple game back then, and a lot of the things that you will find in it are, again, a lot more simple. Like, the cow is an example of that. The cow is, in my opinion, outdated, but Minecraft will not update the way that the cow looks because of the nostalgia effect, because of the fact that it's old, and for some reason they've just committed to this new idea that if something in the game looks out of place, but is like established and recognizable, they're not planning on changing it anytime soon, basically. And that's what us resource pack artists are for. How many resource packs have you seen that have an updated model for the cow? I can think of so many off the top of my head right now. The first one that comes to mind, because I've been using it recently, is Mickey Joe's Rid. He has a great cow model, which has, again, a more slanted head with a more defined face shape as opposed to just a flat image of a cow's head. And, it just looks better. It looks more like the modern creatures within Minecraft. And I think that Minecraft it's a conflicting one, because I don't disagree with their method of doing it, because for me personally, it doesn't bother me that much at all. I think that's, again, in the realm of resource pack artists. But you can't argue that Minecraft has a serious art problem. I think that the arts problem that you started with, I think the screenshot that you saw that started this entire debate, is an example of two mobs using different aspect ratios, and I would completely agree that the bat is too high definition. It looks ridiculous, and I think if this is the kind of thing that's acceptable within the game, then really the chicken and parrot should probably be more high definition as well, because their eyes are terrifying. Look at the fucking ginormous black soulless eyes. They're terrifying. I would actually agree with this guy based on the bat, chicken, and parrot thing, and I would actually agree once again with the cow and the horse thing. But I don't think it's a serious art problem. I think it's part of the beauty of Minecraft being such an old game and retaining such of its old nostalgic value. They know that the game has inconsistencies, but they don't plan on fixing them because they're not a serious art problem. It's just an inconsistency. And if you really are fussed about inconsistencies, you can go and download any of the Vanilla Tweaks packs. I believe they actually have an entire section just for updating the inconsistencies within vanilla Minecraft. And I prefer it personally. My eye looks at the bat when it's at the correct resolution and thinks, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I think it looks fine. And I'll be planning on doing a correct resolution bat in Celeste Light or Celeste at some point in the near future for sure. As well as other mobs, for example, the Wither is the wrong aspect ratio. I'm trying to think of anything else. Never mind. Roll back. There was a point I missed entirely. So the thing about the turtle and the pufferfish is a really interesting point, because there's a very obvious thing here that's been missed entirely. The baby turtle. The baby turtle is the most inconsistent thing in this game. I'm thinking about getting a lightsaber again, because they're pretty pog. Baby turtle Minecraft. Let's check. So the baby turtle in Minecraft is ridiculous. Look at that little bitch. It's fucking so high resolution. It's crazy. Like, what the fuck is that? That's disgusting. So, but yeah, if you look at this thing, right, we'll get this open in a new tab so we can see it properly. Oh, baby turtles are so small and so cute. Interesting. So as you can see here, the baby turtle shares the exact same texture as the adult turtle. And this is a problem, in my opinion, because it's ridiculously high resolution. If you consider how high resolution this texture becomes when it's a baby turtle, it becomes insane. And in fact, to have this texture be pixel consistent would be very nearly impossible, in my opinion, and it's an issue that I'm not entirely sure how to tackle, if we're completely honest, because it's only really achievable if you use Optifine's baby detection and maybe even a custom model to make it larger still, just so that you'll be able to solve this issue more easily. But yeah, the baby turtles, as you can see here, their resolution is incredibly high. If the bat is double the resolution or even quadruple the resolution that it needs to be, the baby turtle is double again, because it's so small. but usually baby animals don't look that bad in the game, right? If we take, for example, a baby cow in Minecraft. Now, the babies in Minecraft... What the heck is that? Why is that the second image that comes up? The baby cows in Minecraft aren't that bad, in my opinion. Because generally speaking... let me see... Why can't we just get some bigger screenshots, bro? So generally speaking, the babies in this game aren't that bad, because what it boils down to really is that, you know, the scaled down baby texture is generally about half the size that it needs to be, or double the pixel rate that it needs to be anyway, or, you know, aspect ratio, resolution, whatever you want to call it. But the heads actually retain the same size. So as you can see, the problem with the baby animals in this game is that the heads are the same size as the adults and have the correct pixel ratio, but the bodies are now a lot smaller and aren't. They're too high resolution. And again, that's something that we can only really solve using Optifine, because we can use the, you know, is baby detection that was recently added to Optifine. Or I say recently, it might have been a while ago now, but you never know. The baby turtle is the worst example of that in the game. I would actually argue that the baby turtle is the most inconsistent texture based on its resolution scale. So there was a very easily missed opportunity here, and I think a better explanation would have been to say Minecraft could do with unique baby mob textures. If I'm honest, I think that Minecraft has a serious art problem is not really the case here. I think that it's just a case of, I think you've sort of mistaken the game's, you know, I think you've mistaken Mojang's refusal to update old features and kind of like seen it as an art problem. But I don't see it as a problem. I see it kind of as a style choice. I think they're aware that they're doing that, and I think they don't have an issue with it. But I think there are problems in other places, such as with the baby mobs, and such as with the bat, obviously. So that one, again, was quite valid. But yeah, anyway, we'll watch a little bit more of this video, but I'm not too fussed. Oh, God. Every time I see the old netherrack, I cringe. It's so bad. Anyway, where were we at? Let's see.
Of the game from which you extend. And that's why it's such a key and important thing, that it actually does feel like the vanilla game to many people. If it doesn't feel like that, if it feels like there's lots of features coming together from lots of developers, which is the case, by the way, that's how they develop these things, then you start to get lost on that. And they made lots of strides by having a dedicated art team, a dedicated pixel artist in the form of people like Japper, who even went ahead and redesigned all of the textures. But it seems as though maybe those texture redesigns didn't do their intended job. I mean, sure, they were new.
That's not the problem. So Japper actually Japper wanted to remodel mobs and redesign all the textures in the game. He actually made a creeper texture as well, which obviously wasn't used because of how iconic the creeper was. I think Japper actually probably would have done a much better job if Mojang would have given him a lot more creative control with how to make a lot of the things that he did. A lot of you will have seen with Japper's textures, there's like 3 different versions of the textures that he made. Some of them are drastically different to vanilla, and you can see that as the versions progress on with the new textures, a lot of them get refined and become a lot more like their vanilla counterpart from 1.13 and earlier. I don't think that's a mistake at all. I think that is unfortunately just Mojang having way too much of an input on the textures redesign. And unfortunately, if we were able to just prioritize the texture redesign in its entirety, I believe that Minecraft would be a much better looking game. I thoroughly believe that. But I think that they made the, if I'm honest, wise choice of not changing some textures because it would have been too alien. It would have, turned players away. For example, if the creeper was changed to be a limited color palette with, in my opinion, a good texture, it wouldn't be recognizable. The creeper is synonymous with Minecraft. Everyone recognizes the creeper. You can have people who don't even know what Minecraft is, or well, maybe that's a stretch, but you have people that have never played Minecraft that will be able to recognize a creeper from a mile off because it's so recognizable. So to give it a real texture would have been a big mistake because it's just become so, integral to the look and feel of Minecraft. So I don't really think that there's any bad on that point. I think it's just, it's interesting, to say the least. But yeah. Anyway, where were we at? So I think that it's not entirely Japper's fault at all. I think that he didn't fail. I think that it's a case of Mojang had more control over it than you realize and actually rejected a lot of what Japper tried to do.
And confusing and weird for a little bit, and sure, they fixed certain textures to make, for instance, Netherrack less ugly, to make cobblestone, to have, and Edstone actually have unique.
What? Why is it upside down? Why is it upside down? What? I'm confused. Why have you turned it upside down?
Textures rather than just being the same one, but inverted. Fun fact.
Yep, that's a fun thing, to be fair. Endstone was initially just cobblestone but inverted, and now it has a unique texture. Yeah, I mean, this is just an example of laziness, really, if we're honest, isn't it? I do actually really like the new endstone texture. I think it looks way nicer. And the cobblestone texture as well. I think they're both good textures.
That was, for the longest time, what endstone was, just inverted cobblestone. But while they made a lot of positive changes, they still didn't entirely fix the issue going forwards. I mean, Netherite was introduced in 1.16, and it's widely agreed that the armor looks kind of inconsistent.
Oh,
and,
that's not even the biggest problem. When Netherite was first introduced, the fucking leggings weren't even done, because clearly the guy who textured them just textured them while the full armor was showing, and in this configuration the chest plate covers up the top of the leggings. You can even see it. You can see it under there. There's just a flat grey tone where the belt of the leggings was. It has finally been fixed now, I believe, but it was wrong for such a long time. And I don't know why, if I'm completely honest. How do you miss that? Just like view them one at a time. Or surely you texture them one at a time, right? That just seems rushed to me. I don't get it. Let me see if I can find it. Netherite leggings. Let me see. Yeah, look. Look at that. What the fuck? It's just a flat, like, brownie grey. Is that how they look now? I don't know what the updated ones even look like, actually. That's mad. See if I can find... I wonder if anyone's pointed out the issue on here. Probably not. Netherite leggings fix texture pack. Right, that might not actually be the official one then. Is that another fix? I feel like that's the new one because that's on the official Minecraft wiki. Although that is as well. That's the old one at least anyway. You can see there that the leggings just simply weren't finished. So yeah, again, I agree. I don't know. Obviously, the Netherite does look very different to the old school armors, but I would actually say that the reason for it having a different style is because it's more modern and it has like a different feel to it. Like if you think about it, the iron armor and the gold armor should in theory look similar because they're both made out of ingots, which are a very similarly shaped material with a similar level of shine. The diamond armor should look different. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It is just a recolor of iron and gold, once again. The diamond armor should, in my opinion, be unique because it's made of gems, but never mind. But of course, the netherite armor is made out of a brick. But, like, you know, it's diamond armor with, like, in my opinion, like a brown plating on top of it. I don't know what I'm talking about, man. But, you know, there's a reason why this one looks different, basically. I think it's valid that this one looks different. Personally, I believe that iron and gold, as much as they should have unique textures, are fine to be a recolor because they would, in theory, look very similar if crafted the same way. But I think it's a sin more so that the diamond texture is just the same as iron and gold. I would actually argue that the netherite texture is not the problem here. I would argue that the diamond texture is the problem here. So, yeah.
You know, this doesn't just extend from, you know, looking at the mobs or looking at some armor types or looking at some various blocks, though we can do all of that too, but it's also when we start to look at the gameplay elements themselves. So let's take a look at the naturally generated structures in Minecraft. There is a lot of them, and although you can clearly see the change over time to be bigger and better perhaps, let's take a look at the igloo and the jungle temple, some of the older structures from the early days of Minecraft.
No, I completely agree with him on structures. I think that there are so many structures in the game that need an overhaul. I'm one of many people who was thoroughly disappointed when they didn't update Nether Fortresses in 1.16. I think they're sorely overdue for an update. It's funny actually. I think someone I never remember where I see all this stuff. I should save it for later. But I think when 1.16 was in development, they did like a Q&A day, and someone asked if Nether Fortresses were getting a visual update because they were such an old and kind of crappy looking model. And I think someone from Mojang actually said, we're choosing to leave them the same as they are now because not everyone has had a chance to like discover them yet. And I'm like, what? They've been in the game for like a decade. Like, what a crap excuse. Like, just admit that they are so old that you have no idea how to change them and are afraid of the game, like, combusting if you try and edit code from that long ago. I genuinely think that's the problem, by the way. I actually think that they are so old that they don't dare try and adjust them because it might just fuck everything up. I would love to see an update to Nether Fortresses, but again, with that style that I mentioned before, where Minecraft chooses generally not to update old things, apart from obviously the villages, which did get a very nice update in my opinion. I think the new villages look great, by the way. I think that it's very, very likely that they will just never change them. Like, I'm talking like 10 years from now, still the same, because I think that's part of the thing that they go for. I don't think they have any plans to update old stuff. I think they have so many ideas for new content that spending time to go back and change things, which aren't exactly bad, would be almost a waste of time. So, I don't know.
And let's compare them to the Bastion, not just in terms of
scale,
the Bastion.
But in terms of hate the Bastion. It's so ugly. I get why the Bastion looks the way it does, but it's so fucking ugly. It's like, Ugh, you're in the nether and you either just see a ginormous black cube or you see like a sprawling broken mess like this. There's no good in between. I really don't like the Bastion. I think it looks really bad.
Detailing that is going on here. It is incredible the difference that these two things pose when put side by side, even just on screen like this. Hell, even if you take a look at the Bastion Remnants and the Nether Fortress, the Nether Fortress is just big clumps of Nether brick and pretty much nothing else.
Yeah.
And the Bastion Remnants is using a lot of textures. It's an interesting size and shape and spawning and has various variants, whereas the Nether Fortress is it's a structure that exists. The Ruin Portal and the Igloo side by side, ooh, it's a really weird comparison to make again. And I know I always harp on it from a gameplay standpoint, but seriously, take a look at the brand new ships that spawn under the water in that same 1.13 update, and let's take a look at the desert well. Oh my god, not only is this thing a liability in terms of everything else, but also it proves once more that Minecraft has a serious art problem.
It doesn't have a serious art problem,
again,
man.
you might
Come
think
on.
we're being picky.
I think there's a bit of an exaggeration here. And again, can you really blame him? Because he's got to make content. He's got to make content. Can you imagine if he titled a video saying Minecraft has a bit of an art inconsistency? It's not going to get viewed, is it? Of course, he has to give it a dramatic, over-the-top title. I think it's quite entertaining, to be honest. Anyway, in conclusion, because I'm bored of this crap, I actually agree with a lot of what he's saying. I agree that Minecraft does have inconsistencies, and I personally would love to see a lot of the older structures get the 114 treatment. I would love to see the new villager styles. I would love to see better use of jigsaws, and I would love to see better use of structure blocks, mainly just because structure blocks allow us to customize structure spawning using data packs. We currently can't change things like the Nether Fortress and the Jungle Temple and the Desert Pyramid and the Desert Well. They're not structure based structures. They are like built-in hard-coded structures, so they don't have any sort of customization. Minecraft is currently aiming to make the game more customizable. We recently got the custom biomes, custom dimensions, and hopefully in the future we'll get custom items and blocks with a similar namesake type situation to to how the dimensions and biomes work. I expect that's the way forward with data packs personally. I don't think it'll be for a year or two maybe, but I think that's what we'll get in the future. But again, with these structures, I don't think there's a problem with them. And with the art style, again, I do think the art style does have some problems in some cases, but again, if they solved all those issues, some of the vanilla tweak sections wouldn't exist. So who cares? I think it's fine. I don't think it's a serious art problem. I think that the game has inconsistencies, and I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's almost a choice on their part. I think where the real problems lie would be with things like pixel inconsistency, and I think it's just almost laziness as well. I think that baby mobs should have unique textures in the game. I think that would make the game much better. Imagine if baby chickens were yellow like chicks. Massive improvement, I think that the game would benefit a lot from having unique textures for baby mobs. And yeah, maybe some of the structures could do with an update, but I don't think they'll ever update them, and I think that's fine, because unless you want to customize the desert well, which I personally would like to do, it doesn't really matter, does it? So definitely not a serious art problem, but inconsistencies to say the least. And, maybe a little bit of laziness going on there as well. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I don't hate ibxtoycat. Please, fans, don't do another 30virus situation. Please. But yeah, not a serious art problem, just kind of a few inconsistencies. Shout out to Stridey for letting me know about this video. I thought it was a bit of a giggle when I first saw it, so hopefully you guys got a bit of a kick out of that as well. But again, do you know what? We're starting to just see a trend here. It's the same as usual with these big content creators that pump out content daily and have to just fill that quota to get the real YouTube monies. They do unfortunately have to make misleading, clickbaity, and a lot of the time unrealistic titles, such as Minecraft has a serious art problem, as opposed to Minecraft's a bit inconsistent sometimes, bro. That wouldn't get clicks, would it? So I think the real problem here is just, again, to do with the YouTube algorithm, if we're honest. But anyway, yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you. Yeah, bye. Okay.